In just a matter of days, cardinals from around the world will be heading into Conclave to pick the next leader of the Catholic Church. The man chosen will lead 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. Joining me now to talk about how this process could go, Father Patrick Flanagan, chair of the Department of Theology and Religious Studies at St. John's University, along with John Yep, CEO and president of Catholics for Catholics. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Pope Francis was known for his humility and love for the poor, but he was also more liberal than pontiffs in the past. Father, what backroom conversations do you think could take place before and during conclave?
So I think one of the conversations that's occurring these days, from what my sources tell me in Rome, is do they want someone in the image and likeness of Francis, or do they want to move on from Francis? But they also see a need that they cannot move on from Francis, because Francis made a significant impact the past 12 years and really made an impact in such a way that really stretched the reach of the Catholic Church to include those who are historically marginalized and those who were excluded historically. So I think that, it's not either or, but it's both and that's what's going to be critical as we move forward.
Yeah, and to that point, many cardinals have said they want to follow Pope Francis's focus of helping the marginalized in society. But conservatives, however, are more interested in getting back to the core doctrines of the church. John, what do you think could most influence who is chosen?
I think, this is for real. It's not cliche. I think it is the prayers of the faithful around the world, because we have lived through a pontificate the last 12 years, which many would argue has caused a lot of confusion and just shying away from traditional Catholic teachings, right? And, there is good news in some ways, even on a geopolitical sense. We had the somewhat scandalous Vatican-China Accords, where they signed the deal with the Chinese Communist Party, which ceded over that ability of the cardinals or the church to actually name our own bishop, something that's been done for 2,000 years, right? Well, the primary architect of it and front runner for the next pope, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who's the Secretary of State, he had a health scare just like 3 days ago, right? So that kind of shook the Cardinals up a little bit and kind of took him out of the front running. It bodes well. I know the persecuted Chinese Christians were kind of glad to see that might not be the case. But there are things that need correction. Post-Francis pontificate, yes, there were some things we learned, and different people reach in different ways. But I think it's time now to really, really pray and also continue to voice our opinions, like Father and myself are doing, just to bring this up to the attention of the cardinals. Now is the time to speak during this interregnum period.
Yeah, Father, 10 of the electors taking place in conclave are from the United States. What do you think the chances of having the first American pope in history elected?
That's a tough question. That's a loaded question on a Saturday afternoon. One of the names that I'm hearing, actually, well, two of the names I'm hearing are Cardinal Tobin from Newark, but the other name I'm also hearing is actually Robert Prevost, who is somewhat of an unknown individual, but he's a Vatican official. But he's originally from Chicago, and he spent a good bit of time in South America, and now he's in Rome working. He seems to be what's called garnering some interest. As was reported over and over again, this is a critical time for these cardinals to get to know each other. Many of these men don't know each other, and it'd be unfortunate if they were not attentive to getting to know each other and seeing the gifts and talents and the potential leadership skills that some of them have to lead the church into the future. I agree with my colleague. It's critical the next pope be clear and sound on the presentation of Catholic teaching. I think one of the concerns that many critics have of Pope Francis is the concern that he was not always clear and left the door open for suspicion and concern.
Yeah, one of those electors, Cardinal Timothy Dolan from New York, had this message for the Catholic faithful ahead of conclave. Take a listen.
Even though this is somewhat of an exceptional, dramatic time in the life of the church, as we mourn Pope Francis and await the election of his successor, it's also a time that prayer comes first. And if we don't ground our work in prayer, we're in trouble.
John, what do you think this message means?
I think Cardinal Dolan is, he's just being very just upfront and clear. He's talking about some of the issues that need to be talked about, but through his social media postings. He's been posting all over about the different churches that he's gone, visited, and prayed at. It's a reminder, to pray. And number one, also, as Archbishop Chaput said, it's time for candor, to speak up, to make our needs known of what Catholics around the world need. And this is also unique because the Cardinals have not gotten together in almost 10 years. There hasn't been a formal gathering. And that's created a lot of just nuances because, as Father Flanagan was saying, these guys don't know each other, and it's so important. They were given a 500-page book a few days ago just so they can actually, understand the bios of the people that they might be voting to lead the 1.3 billion Catholics around the world. So time for prayer, time for just realism and candor.
Well, Father Patrick Flanagan, John Yep, thank you very much. Great conversation.